Hello, I'd like to welcome you to my podcast entitled The Wright Experience. I'm Dr. William T. Wright Jr., the founder and host of this show. Over the past 24 years, I've been fortunate enough to get to know and work with some amazing leaders from all across the United States. The vision of this show is to share these podcasts with you so that we can learn from people who are leading others every day. For all of this year so far, we've been focusing on educational leaders and we'll continue to do so for a while. But in 2022, we'll expand to other disciplines down the road. By all means, when you hear something that you like, please let us know through commenting, clicking like, and if you're viewing us via YouTube, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. I've been absolutely pleased and amazed with the responses, and we look forward to continuing to hear those. Just last week, I was reviewing some data, and our viewership is well into the thousands now, and I'm absolutely grateful for that. Tonight is episode 34 of The Wright Experience. During the entire month of October, as you know, those of you that have been watching, we've been featuring principals during National Principals Month. We are featuring public school educators who are leading others in today's schools. My guest tonight is a veteran education professional who just assumed her first principalship. I first met her at a conference in South Carolina several years ago, I believe, when her husband had just been named a brand new superintendent. My guest tonight is Dr. Sonya Oates. Dr. Sonya Oates is a first-year principal at Cape Fear Elementary School in Pender County, North Carolina. She served as an assistant principal at New Hanover and Brunswick County School Districts at the elementary and middle school level for 8 years. Dr. Oates, prior to becoming an assistant principal, she had many experiences, including being a teacher assistant and a teacher. She states that she is always a teacher at heart. Her educational background includes a bachelor's degree from North Carolina Central University and the University of North Carolina at Wilmington, a master's degree from Gardner-Webb University, and a brand new doctorate of administration from High Point University. Her modeling of pursuing lifelong learning is intended to be an example to students and teachers that we never stop learning. Dr. Oates is the proud wife of Jerry Oates, the superintendent of Brunswick County Schools in North Carolina, and the mother of 3 children. During her free time, she loves to read, sing, and spend time with family. She believes in leading through knowledge, serving through best practices, and collaborating with all stakeholders in order to support the goals of the school system. She views a collaborative school environment as the key to creating successful teachers and students. And she also believes that partnerships with parents and community partners are essential to enriching the educational experience. All very prominent needs, particularly in today's schools. At this time, I'd like to welcome Dr. Sonya Oates. Welcome to the Wright Experience, Dr. Oates.
Thank you. Thank you.
And good to have you here finally. Been wanting to get you on here for a while, so that's a great thing. It's a great thing. Welcome. Dr. Oates, we have several questions for you tonight. I know you're just settling into your new principalship at Cape Fear Elementary in a different county from where you've been working in. So that's congratulations for that honor, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I know you're off to a tremendous start as the principal of Cape Fear Elementary. So tell us about your new school and the outstanding things you have going on there.
Well, Cape Fear Elementary School has 523 kids.
Okay.
I have some wonderful teachers. I have about 60 on staff. And they are a great group of teachers who work really hard. They welcome me with open arms. I feel like family already. We are the Cubs, and we started out to a great year. Even though challenges with COVID as anybody else, I've asked my staff, and we believe that we just take things day by day.
Right.
We work hard. We make sure we communicate our needs to each other because our mental health, as well as the mental health of our students, are very our So I tell them all to communicate. It's a new thing for a lot of us, but communication is key. Our parents work hard with us. We are connected to Cape Fear Middle School, which is a great partnership that we have, as well as connected to our another learning center, PILA. So
Okay.
we take pride in collaborating, all three principals. We collaborate with each other to make sure the experience is even better as our students transition from elementary to middle school. So it's important for us to try to bridge that gap so parents know that we are all in this together.
And so, are the buildings connected, or is it on the same campus, or how does that work?
The buildings are connected. All I do
Oh,
is walk
wow.
through one hallway and I'm
Okay.
on the other side.
Okay. Okay. Very good. So, a complex,
Yes.
learning complex of sorts. Okay. Great. Great.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Oates, in the case of elementary schools, particularly, we started off this school year with most of our students not even being able to be vaccinated. So, how's your school navigated that challenge?
Well, of course, we follow the guidelines of
Sure.
the North Carolina Toolkit, as well as any decisions that our Board of Education make. At the school level, we take precautions such as cafeteria. We're not eating in the cafeteria currently. We've looked at our numbers in the school, our cases in the school, and have decided to eat in classrooms. We clean daily. Our teachers have cleaning supplies. We all have cleaning supplies, and whenever we're done with the activity, we try to clean and wipe down desks and the custodians come behind doing breaks with itinerants to wipe down desks and things as well. We make sure kids are washing hands, hand sanitizer, making sure that that's done daily and consistently. And then we work hard when we do have a case. We work hard to make sure that we can maximize how many kids have to go home. That's another reason why we decided to stay in the classroom. So it's not such a large population that has to go home.
Good.
It is a challenge, always a daily challenge, but the teachers are putting in the work and we're putting in the work to make sure that our students and staff are safe.
And we definitely have to work to try to make sure that everyone who is faced with the contract tracing and the quarantining, that we get everyone, but we still want to minimize those numbers and try to keep as many children in school as possible. So that's absolutely right. And that's not unlike your process and procedures aren't unlike they are anywhere. Most of us are having to make decisions like limit large gatherings, which means that we eat in the classroom sometimes instead of eating in the cafeteria. Those are not things that we want to do, but we have to do what's best for children. So
Right.
uh, I think that's outstanding that your staff is being proactive and continuing to look into things of that nature. So, Dr. Oates, I had to put this question in here because you're unique in this sense. You have the unique perspective of serving as a school administrator for, I think I read earlier, the past 8 years in some role, while being married to a school superintendent for some of that time. So what would you consider to be the advantages of that? And then the second half of that question is, does that also make it tougher at times?
Well, I'll say the advantages are we both have a different view and a scope of things going on. So we're able to have a lot of rich conversations
Mhm.
about education and about supporting the community, creating partnerships, the different people that we meet. It was a little more difficult being in the same district as my husband because I was more under a different lens, being his
Right.
wife, and
Sure.
trying to create my own image. But yet I was always just a superintendent's wife, and also trying to create building relationships with my staff to trust me that he's just my husband and we have a separation of our jobs. So that
Right.
was particularly hard, building relationships with teachers. But now that I am out of the district, I think the pressure has been lifted off of me some. I'm still the superintendent's wife, but being in a different district, I'm able to bond more with teachers and not necessarily have to think about a lot of different groups that I'm in because he is not the superintendent of this district. However, I wherever we go, I still have to be careful. There are different things that I can't respond to like I want to, um, because I have to think about the eye that is still there sometimes. But it's been a privilege because have the opportunity to see, the workings of a superintendent,
Sure.
what that path looks like, and also to be able to be humble enough to know that, running the entire district, we all have to be on board. I
Sure.
have to know we don't talk about situations when we're home, because our home is our home, and we need a break from it all. It never stops. And then also talking to our children, because they're under that lens as well. So we've had to have conversations, because sometimes it's difficult to be children. So, but we take everything positively,
Right.
and I think that it's been a learning curve for me, because it has made me a better leader, to be able to be around a superintendent and be able to have the lens of a principal. So I like to grow, and a lot of conferences and stuff come across my husband's plate that I would not know about being
Right.
in different positions. So I'm able to access some of that as well to continue to grow myself as a leader, and for me to meet with different wives or different families that are under superintendency, to glean some some support with challenges.
Very, very good, and because of that, that's helped and shaped, I'm sure, your lens for what you're currently doing. Do you have aspirations of superintendency one day,
I
perhaps?
do I do have aspirations of
Okay.
assistant superintendent.
We'll stop there, huh? Well, the job has certainly changed. This is my ninth year. It's certainly changed, just in those 9 years for sure. It takes a special person to do what we do at any level, whether it's
Yes.
superintendency, principal, teacher, teacher assistant. These days, driving a bus even is challenging.
Oh, yes.
So yes, but congratulations on that, and that's an interesting perspective that I certainly wanted to have the opportunity to quiz you about a little bit there. So thank you for that. So Dr. Oates, what do you see as some of the largest needs for elementary school age children? And I've written the question to say post pandemic, but now and then as we continue post pandemic, what do you see as some of the largest needs for elementary school age children?
The largest thing is learning how to do school again.
Right, right.
Many students were able to, have free time and not a structured time away from the classroom, using technology all day long. So
Mhm.
we've had to teach kids, how to be students without so much of the electronic devices, being able to sit longer periods of time again, almost just like when we teach third graders how to begin testing. We've had to look at those different situations. We've had a lot of students who, of course, had the opportunity to spend more time with family members. So the anxiety of being disconnected from mom or dad or sister or brother was huge in elementary school. So we have had to be very, very patient with our parents and our students, to help them transition back into being in a classroom all day long. Um, as well as being patient about students being sick. Now sick looks a little different
Sure.
than coming to school with a runny nose. So staying abreast of things that's happening, educating our parents, communicating with our parents, has really been helpful in us being able to move forward post pandemic, and also realizing that um, COVID may be around longer than we anticipated, but
Mhm.
what are our next steps to make sure that our students and parents are prepared for what is to come?
And it is an ongoing process as we assess those needs and continue, isn't it? I mean, it's not a one shop fixes all
It
kind of
is
thing.
not. It is not.
That's right.
Each need and each family is different, as we all know. Um,
Sure.
and that can be tricky sometimes, but we have to make sure we assess the need first.
Absolutely. So, Dr. O's, now that you're in your first principalship, everybody's anxious about it until they get it. And then when they get it, what advice would you give now to teachers and assistant principals, or just people in general who are seeking their first principalship? What advice would you give?
I would say, as an assistant principal or teacher, go to as much professional development as you can.
Hmm.
Stay abreast of the different curriculums, the different things that are happening around us, because this transition has been easy for me because I was prepared for what came. I was prepared because I never stopped learning. Any seat
Right.
that you sit in, ask your principal questions. Ask your superintendents and assistant superintendents and your curriculum specialists. Ask them questions about what's happening, and also staying abreast of what's coming down from the state. Because if you continuously learn those things, um, it won't be as tough. Now, of course, management and parent issues and parent concerns, no one can be prepared for that.
Right.
But I think if we learn how to address or speak to people, because we have to deal with people all day long, and people meaning parents, people meaning the community, it may be the media. We have to be prepared for those things and find mentors. Find someone who you can talk to, who you can call, because we never know it all. We will never be able to say that every situation we'll know how to handle, and be comfortable with asking for help.
So you're not just talking about the institution of higher learning and so forth. You're talking about professional development. Talk about some of those examples. What are some of the professional development examples that you suggest?
Some of them are leadership conferences.
Sure.
They are great conferences dealing with leadership, critical conversations, conferences, how to talk to your stakeholders,
Right.
workshops dealing with that, and even workshops talking about the newest technology. Students, everyday technology is changing, and being able to, I like to be able to not only suggest things to my staff, but I like to get in the classroom and model some things. So I don't just go to the workshop to try to bring it back. I learn how to do it, because
Hmm.
we all know that some of us are visual learners. So I like to be comfortable enough with my staff where I myself can pop in the classroom and show them how to do something. And that's how I build connections with my staff and say, hey, it's a learning curve for me, but we can do this together. So any workshops dealing with those things can be very helpful.
So then what I'm hearing you're saying, and certainly I agree with this. So some of the most important professional development that you can give to folks who are under your leadership is by modeling the behavior that you're expecting.
Yeah,
Is that what I'm hearing you say?
that's right.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, and so that's certainly a great tip for those of us that are out there learning how to be better leaders. That we model the behavior that we expect in the people um, that are under our leadership. So outstanding. So where would you like to see Cape Fear Elementary 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I would like to see them, if I would not be an effective leader, if when I leave, if I leave and move on, and it's my time to move on, that it could not run at a be a top notch school, excellent teachers, effective teachers when I'm gone.
Right.
Every day, I want to grow my teachers and grow my staff to be able to lead in my absence, my assistant principal as well. So in 5 years, they have had a lot of change with principals, but I want them to be confident to know, if they do have another change, that because we are family, and because we work together and we collaborate together and we lead together, it's okay when change has to take place.
Mhm.
Um, Cape Fear Elementary School is in a great place. They've had some great leaders. And so I'm just here just to grow them even more. That's
Sure.
all I am, right alongside them. I don't call myself the leader of the school,
Okay.
because we lead together. We all lead
Right.
whenever we need to. And if anybody needs to step up, my staff has been amazing in stepping up with staff shortages. Everybody knows that, we have positions that are open, but my staff, they don't come complaining. They come asking, what can we do to help? Where can we fill in? That's where I want Cape Fear to remain. and be in the next 5 years.
I love that. I love that working alongside. In fact, as a leader, I've always preferred to use the term that people work with me instead of for me.
Yes.
We work for children. We work for the benefit of children, and at the district level for staff members. But my subordinates, if you will, they work with me and not for me.
Yeah.
And I think that creates the mindset that you're talking about there. So outstanding. What advice would you give to? I know you're a mom of three children, three wonderful children. So, what advice would you give, Dr. Oates, to families to assist them with the shift in education that we're currently experiencing as a result of the pandemic?
I think we first must have conversations and listen to our children.
Okay.
The pandemic was hard on adults. So imagine, what kind of impact it has had on our children.
Sure.
So I make sure I ask those questions. We often ask questions, how was your day? But we have to dig a little bit of dip deeper than how was your day, and ask them, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about school? What are you struggling with? What are you anxious about? So first of all, having those conversations with your students or your children so you can know where they are. And then supporting their needs. Needs have changed since when we went to school. So, we often tell our children, well, have a good day at school, but we have to go further with just have a good day. And talking about, friendships that they're making. A lot of students have learned, and they're very creative, how to do many different things with technology.
Right.
So we have to monitor more than we have ever monitored before, monitoring those social groups and those social media groups, and preparing our parents and students with education about how to use social media and things that you can do and things that you cannot do on social media. Those things are very, very important.
And we need constant reminders of that too, don't we? I mean, certainly, as you're saying, social media and the use of technology can be a very powerful tool, and it could be a very powerful tool. So we
Yes.
have to be, So we have to be very cognizant of as you said, monitoring that use and making sure that it's used as it should be, as opposed to how it sometimes is. So my last question for you, Dr. Oates, if we are indeed coming out of the pandemic, what is something that you have learned in the assistant principalship during the pandemic that you really hope does not go away?
I think I learned that our children are really resilient.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They have come out of this showing us how to be resilient. Yes, there are some deficits, but our children have sustained not just COVID. Pender County students have also, and other students have experienced a hurricane even before COVID. So to come to school and still come happy, ready to learn after all of this, I hope that we take note and we continue to support the fact that our children are resilient, and we teach that. We praise and we applaud our kids and tell them, you are doing great. We are going to get through this. I tell this to my staff almost every day. I play a song on the intercom every morning and tell kids, today is a great day to be great, because I want them to know that no matter what happens in the day or at home, we're going to have a great day. So that resilience has kept us all through this, and the resilience is going to keep us moving forward.
And we need to hold on to that, don't we?
We every day.
Absolutely. Outstanding. Dr. Oates, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience that I might have missed?
I just want to say thank you for having me. And I also want to say applaud anyone who's in administration and education, because we don't always get the pats on the back, but just know that we're all in this together and we're thinking about everybody, and just keep being strong for our students and staff.
All right, very good, and wise words. If you'll hold on with me for a minute, we'll come back and close the show. In observance of National Principals Month, as you know, we've featured principals all of this month in varying levels of leadership in public schools. There is no time more critical than strong, effective leadership at the principalship in our public schools. You've heard from 4 amazing principals this month. I hope you've enjoyed that. And we will continue to feature building level leaders throughout the podcast in the year 2022, as well as other disciplines and other leaders. The principalship has truly evolved since my first principalship that began all the way back in 2004. Believe it or not, 17 years ago is when I started my first principalship. That's amazing to even say. Each time you see your child's principal, your colleague who's a principal, or a community member that you know that is a principal, I encourage you to encourage them. The job becomes more challenging every day, yet many people continue to do the work and do it with excellence. Yet many people have the challenges of the changes in the position that they have to deal with. And so next week, I've got another treat for you. I'm going to have a guest that is actually one of my former students from my days as a teacher in Edwards Junior High School in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. She is now an assistant professor and a newly minted doctor as well. She teaches at East Carolina University in the Counselor Education Department. Her name is Dr. Janae Avett Harris. And I'm looking forward to that experience next week here on the Wright Experience. Dr. Oates, I want to thank you so very, very much for agreeing to be a part of this show. Don't tell your husband, but I much enjoy looking at the more beautiful Dr. Oates. He's going to get me later, I'm sure. But certainly I'm appreciative of having you here. And thank you for your continued leadership, and look forward to having you back on the show at some point once we get through a couple of years, and you'll have some different experiences, I'm sure, to share with us. So thank you for doing so.
Thank you.
And to the Wright Experience audience, thank you for watching. Good evening.